Nicolas. I am a cybersecurity expert, over 18 years of experience working in security engineering. My specialty is in cloud security, software security, do a lot of stuff with GRC too. Today I'm going to be talking about future-proofing your career in cybersecurity, but before we get started, I need your help, okay? I want to take a selfie with all of you, all right? And we're going to post it online, and I'll get to why here in a minute. It's part of the conversation here, all right? So ready? Let's go ahead and do this. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you guys. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, it all starts with a calling, right? We find this interest, we hear about this thing called cybersecurity. We hear it makes a lot of money. We hear that you get to work remote, maybe do a little bit of traveling. Sounds fun, right? So maybe you're in the field already and you're wanting to level up. Maybe you're in this position where you're trying to break in, right? We had a lot of people on both sides that have said, hey, just help me grow in my career, right? So it starts with that calling, that internal conversation. And it starts on this path of trying to figure out, where do we want to go? How do we get there? What credentials do we need to obtain? What trainings do we need to do? Many of you are probably going to USF, some kind of university, right? You're trying to improve yourself, and you are answering that call by doing that, right? Couple different experience levels, regardless of your goal, right? You're trying to break in. You could be a seasoned IT professional. You know, you're looking to level up, or you could be that total noob that's just trying to break in. It's a lot, right? There's a lot to this. There's a lot of opinions, a lot of different pathways. You know, you get a lot of YouTubers that are telling you to do certain things, and you go get this credential, go get that credential, right? There's just a lot of noise. And so what do we do? How do we actually go about this? And that's really what this presentation is going to be about, is trying to help you answer that call and kind of find a roadmap, a good, clear path to achieving that calling, that goal, which is to break into cybersecurity or to level up in cybersecurity and to really future-proof your career. All right, so you do what many of us do, which is Google. Maybe go on YouTube. I've done a lot of YouTubing. And then you're asking friends, colleagues, people you know, maybe mentors or instructors, how do I do this, right? And you're going to get a lot of different opinions, a lot of different responses. Okay, I call this the echo chamber of cybersecurity advice. And it typically follows as such, right? Get your degrees, get your certifications, go find an entry-level job at the help desk, go build a home lab, go get more certifications, kiss the ring and serve your time, or you just get lucky, right? So we're going to break a couple of those fallacies, or just, you know, a lot of the typical noise, a lot of the typical responses you will hear when you're on the search, okay? The paths of old. So back in the day, this is when I was first getting started. I started when I was a kid because my dad owned his own consulting company. So I got lucky in that regard, right? But these were your typical paths. One of these, sysadmin, network engineer or admin, software developer, right? Times are changing though, right? Where you don't necessarily have to be in one of these categories to start and then break into cybersecurity. Companies are in desperate need for your help, and there's good training out there. There's lots of pathways you can go about it that probably aren't as popular, that will allow you to break into cybersecurity without necessarily having to break into one of these career paths first. And what that does is shorten your lead time to success. All right? Kind of goes with this slide here, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Times have changed. Okay, the demand is higher than ever. We've got 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity positions by 2025. This was done on a recent study. Right here, cybersecurityventures.com/jobs. So they have some data on this, right? This is only increasing. If we look at the number of data breaches that are happening, what does that tell us? We need more people to fill these types of positions. Okay, we have lots of great tools that are out there. We need experts that understand these tools in order to start filling some of these positions. And this career is not going anywhere, which is why you're here, right? All of you want to grow, all of you want to break in. 350% increase in cybersecurity job vacancies since 2013. Like I said, that's not going down. And over 750,000 available jobs, cybersecurity jobs, just within the US. Hundreds of thousands. Okay, I'm biased. I like security engineering. I think a lot of people don't think of that as an entry-level position to get into, but there are, right? There are ways that you can break into this without having to compete for a security analyst role or compete for a GRC role or go through one of the paths of old. Okay? So lots of potential. Lots of potential. The old ways must die. Okay, and I'm telling you guys this because many of you come here with that belief system that I have to be a software developer or I have to be at the help desk before I can break into cybersecurity and I can scale in my career that way. Right? You don't necessarily have to. And there's lots of positions out there, lots of companies with a support structure and the training that will happily take you in, granted that you know just enough so that you're moldable and you have the right attitude and you can grow within that company. Okay? So, like I said, traditional approach to pursuing a cybersecurity career are old and outdated. Those were the paths of old, right? And then your non-efficient, those are non-efficient approaches that do not necessarily serve you or your employer. Again, employers are looking to scale, they're looking to grow, they need to fill these positions. There's a lot of different benefits as to why that is. So you taking this path is not only helping you, but it's helping them. And that's really what this is about. Like, this is about giving, right? We need to make sure that we're serving and that we're jumping in this sooner. So it's a beneficial thing for both sides. Okay? So in this talk, I'm going to introduce something called the Estimate Authority Framework. This is just my system, my framework that I came up with, something that I used over my career. I now teach it to some of my students that help them get into the high demand, in-demand jobs with least wasted time, least wasted money, things like that. Right? Because I mean, how many of you are studying for certification after certification and no one's paying attention to your resume, your applications? Yeah, that's why. Because we want to solve that, right? So it breaks out into 3 different phases: get skilled, get noticed, and get paid. All right. First things first, you guys have to change your mindset. Treat your career like your business, because it is. Okay? You are a high-value commodity when you get into cybersecurity, and a lot of companies will pay a lot of money. And as soon as you break in, the hardest job is the first one you get. From there, you're just going to continue to scale up, and you're going to be worth more and more money as you do so. So treat it as a business. All right, step 1, get skilled. Learn the skills that solve problems, expensive problems. People will pay big money when you solve expensive problems. This is how, well, this is what I want you guys to really take away with, or take away from this, right? If you are developing your skill sets in an area that's high cost to the business, you're going to be worth a lot more to them, especially if that area is in high demand. One area, there's a talk, actually, the gentleman that just left, he's giving a talk on CMMC. CMMC is huge right now. Not a lot of people are going to be talking about it just yet, but this is an area where a lot of contractors that do work for the federal government, they need to get CMMC compliant. This is an area where you guys can benefit by learning, by getting ahead, jumping into a niche skill set that the rest of the job market, the rest of the labor market hasn't jumped into. Security engineering, same thing, right? Cloud security, AI security. Start learning the trends of technology and focusing on how does security play a role in that. That is what we're talking about when we talk about expensive problems, okay? Companies hire IT professionals to solve problems. You guys are a subset of the business. All right, we got to get out of this notion of, oh, they're not giving me the budget, or you know, I'm not, no one's listening to me, no one's paying attention. That's not necessarily the case. It's a business. They got to make business decisions. It's either we're going to secure our landscape, or we're going to pay for marketing so we can make more sales and bring in more profit, more revenue. Cybersecurity is not a profit-generating department, unless it is, but typically it's not. If you work for a mortgage company, like I did once, right? You're not generating revenue by implementing cybersecurity solutions. You're a cost to the business. So you want to get in that habit of understanding you are there to support your business by solving those expensive problems and helping articulate why you need the budget in order to keep the business protected. Why do you need the budget in order to keep the business profitable, or even to keep them a business? Because many times that's what it comes down to, right? Cybersecurity is a function of the business. Yes, just covered that. It solves and mitigates problems. So you need to learn the expensive problems that companies are facing, all right? If possible, if available, try to obtain credentials around that skill set. That's going to support it. So I'm against the idea of going for the Security Plus most of the time, right? The reason why is because you're not necessarily gaining a skill set by doing that. The Security Plus is a generalized entry-level certification, gives you a little bit of everything, but not a lot of anything in particular, okay, if you know what I mean. So try to obtain credentials that will support the skill set that you're trying to develop. The last gal here, I don't know if you guys were, many of you were probably here, she was talking about trying to identify who do you want to become, what's your end goal, identify your intentionality with this career, right? This aligns with that, because when you understand where am I headed, what's that final destination going to look like, you can start to develop your skills around that and acquire the credentials to support that. So over time, all of your money, all of your time are headed to the right direction. They all support that end goal in mind, and eventually you get that return on investment. Let me take a swig of water. Another key area is look up company pain points. I was kind of alluding to this earlier, right? You want to understand where business is struggling when it comes to cybersecurity. Because what you're doing is you're positioning yourself in the flow of investments, you're positioning your flow, or positioning yourself in the flow of where the money is going. And that's going to make it a lot easier to handle the friction of trying to get into this industry. Okay? Great way to do that, look up tech news. Go to TechCrunch, filter out by the technology news that's going there. Look at what kind of investments are being sent out. Who are they investing in? Investment VC capital firms and all that. Look at where that money's going. Try to figure out, okay, if they're investing in this company, what kind of technology are they producing? Or what's this company doing? That drew the attention of first TechCrunch that even wrote about it, and second, the money, the investment that's coming through. And then that's a good indication, hey, this is probably worth my time in the next, 3 to 5 years for me to go ahead and get in there, and then I can really scale my value as a professional by doing that. All right, so we can look up emerging trends, look at the news, look at all that stuff, right? Try to figure out where in technology it's worth getting into. Here's a couple of great ideas. These are some of the things that I focused on getting started. I recommend this to other people because these industries aren't going anywhere. Cloud security, software security, IC systems, industrial control, okay? DevSecOps, artificial intelligence, CMMC. That's federal compliance, right? Good areas to get into. Okay, goes without saying, develop your skills, right? And get the credentials that can kind of support it. Now, a lot of certification providers or vendors, they don't necessarily have the badges and credentials to help you along the way because they're behind in the times. Education typically falls a little bit behind where industry goes. And I can get into the details on that, but it becomes a moneymaker for them when they eventually create a credential that can support that. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to wait. You can start to find harder to find or smaller points of education. ISC 2 now, obviously big. They have the CISSP and the SSCP. They also have skill builder credentials, which you can go and get. If you're part of their membership program, it's free. So if you already have a credential, it's free. If you're not a member, I think it's $20 a month or something like that for you to join, and you can get access to their repository of trainings, and you can go through some of those trainings and start to acquire some credentials. All right, a couple of other ones that I like, if we go back to the last slide on a couple of areas, ideas where you guys can get started. We talk DevSecOps. Yeah, there's DevSecOps certifications, sure. But what about the tools that support DevSecOps operations? Things like GitLab. They have credentials too, right? Or if we're going into, cloud security, Qualys has a bunch of free credentials that you guys can go and start to obtain. And what that's doing is that's helping you gain a entry level or maybe even well-rounded understanding of what that practice is, that function of cybersecurity would do, but then also the tool, which is even better because a lot of companies use that tool. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone there. All right, so next up, getting noticed. Okay, how do we get noticed? I'm going to start this off by saying that attention is the new currency. Okay, somebody mentioned it earlier today. Getting online and sharing what you know and being vocal, making a lot of noise, is going to help you drive more sales, is what this person was kind of hinting at. I think he was a sales rep, right? Companies do that so they can bring in more profit. You can do that as a practitioner too, as a professional. Okay, talk about what you're learning, add value back in the industry, educate other people. By doing this, you're going to come off as a growing professional, which increases your chances substantially of somebody taking a chance on you getting into this industry or leveling up. Okay? A couple of key ways you guys can go about this. You can start to become an influencer. Start talking about emerging trends or the latest data breach. Go on Instagram, make I was thinking YouTube short, you can do that too, but Instagram Reel, you can go on Twitter and talk about it, right? And just educate people, give back. Hey, this is what's going on if you didn't hear about it. Check this out, right? Doesn't have to be super sophisticated, but the key idea here is that you're getting in front of more people. And recruiters and business owners and C-level executives and all those people, they're on those platforms too. So when you start to hashtag and you start to talk about these things more and more, you're going to have a better chance, a higher chance of increasing your visibility, and people are gonna be like, hey, who's this person? We have a position for a SOC analyst. Let's look into this person. Maybe they're a good candidate for this, right? Versus you doing what everyone else is doing, which is just submitting your application and moving on to the next job role that you're gonna apply to. So give value. Okay, another thing I like to do is create articles on particular subject areas. LinkedIn's a great platform for this. That's where all the professionals are, right? Talk about it, share, forward, hashtag. Become a social media influencer to a degree. You don't have to be some guy that's doing funny dances, but you should talk about these things and kind of get more vocal and share your knowledge and awareness of these topics and broaden that to other people, right? They're bound to find it. And then grow your network. This is both in person, this is within your university, this is within your workplace, but this also applies online, okay? LinkedIn's a great place for this. What I tell my students is, hey, every single day, add 10 people to LinkedIn. Just say, hey, I want to add you to my network. No-brainer. Then when you go and you share your posts on there, they're the first ones to see it. And the more active you get on these platforms, social media platforms, the more these platforms are going to favor you, and they're going to broaden your reach over time. So it becomes compounding. Okay, we've got a couple points here. Reach out to recruiters and hiring managers within your subject area. So if you go on LinkedIn, you can actually go and search, hey, recruiter for cybersecurity or recruiter for DevSecOps. They put this in their profile. And if you search for it in the search bar within LinkedIn, you can find these people and just add 10 of them every single day. Broaden your reach, right? And if that's the area that you want to go down, that's the area I wanted to go down, that helps because eventually somebody paid attention to my stuff and extended a $200,000 plus offer, right? So for those of you that are in the field, you guys can get that. And for those of you that are trying to break into the fields, you guys can also get that as well by sharing that value, right? Talking about what you're learning. But it all comes down to your network and your connections. Volunteer at charities within your subject area if you can. A lot of charities out there, especially here in Tampa. Lots of nonprofits. And they don't always have the budget to hire a big consulting firm like Deloitte Ernst & Young or any of these others, right? So if you can come in there and you can say, hey, I am learning this, I am capable of doing X, Y, and Z, would you guys take a chance on me? Non-paid opportunity, but it's experience. Many people are like, oh, how do I get a experience if no one will take a chance on me? Chicken and egg problem. That's how you solve it. Give your time. Add value. All right? I think we got that. We're good. All right. So LinkedIn. I really like LinkedIn. You know, people like to go on TikTok and Instagram. That's like their default. My default, LinkedIn. When I go on LinkedIn, a couple of things that I have to do, and I encourage you all to do it as well, is to refine and fill in every single piece of white space you have on your profile. Okay, add as much detail as you can. Every single word that you add in your LinkedIn profile, it is searchable. It is indexed within their system. So when somebody is searching, if a recruiter is searching for somebody that understands cloud security, and you have cloud security, that keyword, listed 7 times on your profile, there's a higher chance that you're going to be seen, right? If you're tagging, oh, I just went through the skill builder for ISC Square, and I got my cloud security badge, that's going to be collected. It's going to be indexed in their system. And so when somebody's searching credentials around, certified professionals around cloud security, you have a higher likelihood of being found, okay? And the more information you have on there, the more transparent you are about who you are and what you're learning, the more likelihood you're going to have with them reaching out and saying, hey, are you open to getting on a phone call and having a conversation? Okay? So a couple of things to do when it comes to filling in that white space is really developing your profile to its full potential. Have a good profile picture, which I know sounds dumb, but a lot of people don't do it. Get a clear headshot. You smiling, collared shirt, ladies, nice blouse or something like that. Look good. Look good. This is your first impression with a potential employer that's going to hire you. So you want to look good, okay? Fill in that white space. So add details in the description area of the jobs or details and school projects that you maybe performed. Talk about it. You know, give me everything. You know, just fill it in. And as you're growing in your career, you can alter things. You can maybe cut down on certain areas because you're trying to pivot into a new field, new subspecialty, right? You want to kind of refine this, and this becomes an evolutionary thing. You want to just kind of go with the flow as you mature as a professional, okay? And so fill in that space. And then, of course, share your knowledge. Blogs, articles, videos, all of it, okay? One way you guys can get started today is by starting a blog. I started a blog in, I think it was 2016, something like that. And I just started sharing stuff. I'm learning this. Oh, I'm going through this certification. Oh, I passed the certification. Here's how I passed the certification, right? People care. People will see this. They'll read it. Somebody else is in your shoes. Or how do I say this? The shoes that you were in yesterday, somebody's in today, okay? So the thing that you had just accomplished, I guarantee you somebody around the world is trying to accomplish this today. So this is your opportunity to give back, right? You can do that through blogging. A couple of platforms that I really like, Medium, Ghost. Of course, you can use LinkedIn's built-in article system. You can do that too, which is great because you can gain searchability, visibility by doing that. But you have options, and many of these are no cost. You can get started at no cost. Okay, if you want to get fancy with it, pay a little bit more, but you can afford $35 a month, you're good. All right, don't be afraid to talk about what you're learning. You will always have something of value to someone else. I have struggled with this myself, and I'm sure many of you do too, right? If it's this like imposter syndrome or no, who's going to care what I have to say? Trust me, somebody cares. Somebody cares. I posted a video on YouTube. It has, I think, close to 80,000 views. Here's how I passed the CISSP certification in 6 weeks. My most popular video. It blows up every single time. And it makes me money through ads. So share it. Talk about it. I think it's a dumb video, too. It's like 5 years old now or something like that. So if you guys go see it, I look skinnier and probably messy hair. I recorded it at like midnight. But people care. People care. Share it. Talk about it. Share that information. Okay? Deliver value. Don't hold back. Yes. All right. We talked a lot about that. You want to be omnipresent on all the platforms. That's always a good idea. All right. Let's talk about getting paid. Who wants to talk about getting paid? Okay. So I'm a big believer in building job security, but not necessarily within a company. I think that's kind of a fallacy that nowadays you can have job security within a company. Go there, work there 40 years and retire. That's over with, right? Build job security within your industry. Be someone that can move around, be flexible. On average, when I jump from one job to another, I get a 30% increase every time I do it. My students do the same thing. How much is the average increase in wage within the same employer? Anyone know? Yeah, like 3%, 4%. Yeah, kind of depends. What's the, how much did we increase in inflation this past year? Like 9%? Your wages aren't keeping up with that, right? So you want to be able to move, be nimble. And so build job security within the industry. All right? So uptime and availability, for those that are in cybersecurity, you may be familiar with that already. For those of you who are learning it, it mainly falls in line with the availability piece of the CIA triad, right? Making sure that you are available, making sure that you are, in this case, right, you are nimble, you are flexible, you are ready and available to take on the next opportunity at a heartbeat. So don't be married necessarily to a company. For those employers, I'm sorry. But it's true. You guys are a high-value commodity, right? You guys are a resource that many companies need. So treat your career as a business, okay? Your success in your career is all about expert positioning. What have we been talking about this entire conversation here? Talking about expert positioning, adding value, building brand awareness, professional or personal brand awareness, right? That's how we do that. The better you position yourself, the better you'll be prepared to handle corporate hardships and adversities. Going back to that idea of being nimble, being flexible. Companies are going to rise and fall. It happens all the time. In 2021, I was the VP of Security Engineering for a mortgage company, promised a CISO role. I got into a vCISO role. As soon as I got promoted, 2 weeks after I got let go. Why? They lost, I think it was $80 million in 1 quarter. The CISO also got let go several years, like 2 years later. So it happens. It happens. So allow yourself to have options. Okay? Remember, big problems, you get big money. If you can solve big problems, you're going to get big money, right? So build your personal branding, build your awareness, build who you are as a professional in an area that's in high demand. That way you can stay flexible. You can always be able to jump onto new opportunity. And if you feel like your skill set's getting outdated, like, not trying to insult anyone, but I know network security is becoming more congested, right? So I hear a lot of network security engineers who are like, I need to learn the cloud, or I need to learn DevSecOps or AI security. What's this thing, right? Go ahead and start learning it. Start educating yourself. Start adapting and talk about it. Okay, you don't have to rebuild who you are. You can just take your audience along for the journey. Hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. These are the things that I'm doing to go and pursue that, right? This is the end goal. And they will love it. The audience will love it. All right? Hot skills lead to more leverage. More leverage leads to better negotiations for compensation. And of course, you get peace of mind. Okay? Final thoughts. All right, control what you can and give it time. Okay, it does take time. But the best time to start something was yesterday. The next best time is today, right? Go ahead and get going. Get to work, okay? Things you can control, being consistent. Being consistent in your education, being consistent in your postings, how you talk about these things online, being agile, right? Being flexible with various opportunities, do what you can, seek out new opportunities. Don't be married to a position, don't be married to a company necessarily, unless you're the owner. Tough luck. And make yourself available, of course. All right, I'm going to leave you with this quote here. Tell me how you use your spare time, and I will, and how you spend your money, and I will tell you where and what you will be 10 years from now. This is a quote from Napoleon Hill. Okay? So use your time wisely. Don't waste it away. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it open for questions. Thank you. Any questions? All right, yes, in the back.
In regards to cloud security, would the AWS security certificate be a good place to start?
It's a great place to start, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you get to learn the security services for AWS, right? They're going to teach you some of the general industry practices and the frameworks and whatnot, but always remember, vendor-specific certifications, they have a goal too. And that's to get you knowledgeable so you can use their services, which in turn generates more revenue for them, right? So it's a great goal. Industry, or many employers like it. They will use it. You know, they'll take you on. Companies who are partners with AWS, they get discounts by having more certified members. So there's a value add for you there too. Yeah.
I was asking because the ISC2 asks for like 5 years of work experience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about that?
What you're talking about for the CCSP? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do ask for that. I think if you have a degree, they will deduct 1 year, so you only need 4 years. Or if you have a certain certification like Security Plus, they'll take off a year. So there's ways to go about it. If you don't have the 5 years to actually acquire the credential, I wouldn't say take it just yet. I would wait. Go focus on those that you can get, like the CCSK. Same damn thing as the CCSP, yeah. It's a little bit more heavy on framework and GRC for the cloud. There's quite a bit of technical stuff in there as well. But what that will do is get you a credential. It doesn't expire. I think it's a little bit cheaper too. I think it's half the cost. And gets you on your way. You can append it to the end of your name. It looks nice. That would be my answer to that. I think you had a question?
Yes, if you could pick like the top 3 skills that we can acquire as newcomers to our toolbox,
Mm-hmm.
the expensive, like the, what do you call it?
Like high value?
The high value skills.
Okay.
What would you pick?
So right now, what I know, what I'm comfortable with,
Right.
cloud security, compliance for cloud, so GRC for the cloud, and then start to learn software security. You don't have to be a developer, you don't have to know how to code, but you can if you can understand how the security controls are in place for software and understand the legality, data security standards, what have you, for software and cloud, they go hand in hand. Many development teams are on the cloud, so if you know software, it's great. Yes?
Can you speak a little bit about how you, or if you were nimble enough, when you got laid off?
How was I nimble when I got laid off?
Yeah.
Well,
Can you speak about how you should maybe always be listening to opportunities?
yeah.
Were you also listening? I mean, 2 weeks.
I'm always listening for opportunities, man. Always.
So, like that 2-week notice was very short. Like, you just
Yes.
got a promotion.
Yes.
How did you go about that?
Well, what I started doing when I was there at that company was I actually started doing side consulting. So I had a little bit of a buffer of income and some savings to start playing around with to help me transition over. And then I had this time period where I was like, well, do I want to do consulting for myself full time and try to scale this thing up, or do I want to find another company and get some benefits and all that good stuff? Ultimately, I did end up finding another job. I transitioned to EY. I was a senior manager there. Yeah, I mean, just stay open. Stay open to opportunities. Side hustles, yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing, guys. Like, companies, they don't necessarily have to bring you on and pay for all your benefits and all that stuff. They'll just hire you as a contractor. I think when I was doing that, I was making $15K a month just doing policy and procedure documents for various companies, Fortune 500 companies. And I was maybe working 10 hours a week on that. So while I'm watching Netflix, I'm writing a policy document. So, yeah. Yes?
What would be like good positions to start, like good certs to get for like industrial control systems?
For ICS, I know that SANS is really big on industrial control. I don't know if anybody else though. But SANS is a great place to get started. Yes?
So is formal education a waste of time or like?
I would say so. Sorry. They're going to kick me out now.
I'm at SANS.
You're at SANS?
Yes.
Okay.
So like, is that like good or should I just?
Are
I
you-
do stuff on my own too.
Okay. Are you going through their bachelor's or master's? Okay.
Bachelor's.
You know, the great thing about that program is you're getting a lot of credentials, and SANS training is very in-depth, so you're getting a lot of good experience while you're going through those labs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So I like that. I like that. Now, traditional universities, they don't always offer that. I can't speak to USF, I don't know, but I know a lot of universities that will just throw textbooks at you. Maybe they have a very quaint, cute lab where you're kind of learning some stuff, you know, Nmap or whatever. And it's not to say that it's not beneficial. I mean, what it's going to do is it's going to give you leverage to negotiate a higher salary. If somebody says, hey, we're extending you an offer for 120, and you're like, I've got a master's degree, you know, I deserve 145 or 150. Like, you have a little. GX certs are great. But GAC or SANS, they produce a lot of credentials that are not always going to be known to employers. There's a few that are known. Like I know the expert one is known. They have a couple cloud ones that are great. They have a leadership one that's really good. GSEC, that's like kind of like the alternative to Security Plus as far as entry level goes. They have options, yes, but then they have a lot that they're trying to push, and the industry is not accepting it, right? Not yet. There could be change for that in the future. So, a good example of this, guys, is ISC Square's CCSP. The CCSP has been they've been trying to push this thing into the market, and it's not really being as widely as accepted as a CISSP. And they're all like, oh, this is the next thing, the next CISSP. It's not really, not yet, right? So, and a lot of that comes down to the people who have it, are they able to do the job? Are they able to solve the problems? A lot of those multiple choice exams don't really test you on that. You don't have to go through that training. So SANS is probably one of the better ones that gets you exposed to a lot. That's nothing more than a marketing ploy. Yeah. I mean, what it does is just get you little taste tests. It's like going to Costco and getting a little sample. That's all you're doing with that. It's free. Okay, yeah. Yes.
So you said that you talked about like not getting Security Plus because it's not like super worthwhile.
Yeah.
What would you say is like a good alternative to doing a bunch of like entry level certs? Like where would be a good place to start that has more weight in the industry?
Yeah. Well, the CCSK doesn't have an experience requirement. Here, if I was starting out and I was trying to break in, I would probably go buy the textbook for the Security Plus so I can read through it, get an understanding. Yeah. And then once you identify where you want to go with it, with your career, start to find credentials or trainings that are better aligned with that specialty.
So like study for it, but not necessarily spend the $300 to take the test.
For the Security Plus, yes. Yes. There's courses online. Udemy, $20. Go through the course. You don't have to get the credential, but then you can beeline straight out of there and go right for whatever credential is in alignment with your specialty that you want to go down. So, good. Any other questions? No? Oh, yes? Okay.
You mentioned that education always fall a little behind where the industry goes.
Yeah.
So why do you think this happens? And if this happens, what do you think would have to happen so that education follows the industry?
So you're asking how would education, how does this change so that education can follow the industry?
Because education falls a little behind the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is? Because
Well, okay, look at AI security, right? I guarantee you the next 5 years, some credential's going to come out about it, right? But when are we hearing about it the most? Right now. SMEs, subject matter experts, are learning this stuff now. And later on, they're going to be hired to go and create content about this in the future. So GIAC's going to, or SANS, they're going to have something. IC Square may come out with something. CompTIA, I guarantee you, they're going to have something, right? So, and they're gonna go and pay the people who are out there talking about this stuff, AI security, or whatever the leading next thing is. They're gonna go and say, hey, we've got an offer for you. I pay you $10,000 to make a course. And then they're gonna go monetize the hell out of that thing. You know, that's how that typically works. And within a university, look at the textbooks. You know, they're always falling behind. It takes years to compile that information, edit it, go through it, and then publish it, and then get the universities to buy it and modify their curriculum programs to adapt this new curriculum into there. And then they go through a whole marketing cycle too. So that's why it takes some time. It takes a couple years. You got one more?
Yeah, which leads to
Okay.
the after question, which is, what do you think needs to happen so that education and the industry goes at the same pace?
I don't know the answer to that one. Because like, if you look at where leading areas of technology are at right now, we're still trying to understand the long-term impacts of AI and how security is going to be baked into that. Like, how does this thing play a role in our working worlds? So I think I don't know if you can solve that problem. Like, make the lead time shorter, right? Maybe if they came up with an adaptive training model where it's like, hey, here's what we know today. Go ahead and start learning this, and over time we start to build onto this and modify the curriculum around that. But I think a lot of it just comes with, you know, how education providers, how they have to, their lead time to go find a person to teach this thing, and then developing the curriculum, and that takes time. That takes time. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you in the back.
When you talk about home lab, what do you expect for the new newbie to have? Because like that was one of the questions that I think for me most of the hiring manager asked me.
Okay. When it comes to what though?
The home lab.
Home labs.
Yeah, for a new joiner, like what do you expect for the home lab to have?
That's going to depend on the track that you're trying to go down, where you're wanting to go. If you want to go in cloud security, I would expect that you have some cloud environments that you're building and messing things up, sandbox environments, your own accounts, where you're building things, you're testing new security tools, and maybe releasing malware in a safe environment and then having to remediate that. So it greatly depends on where you're trying to go. I think another area, which I don't know if you were here where I was talking about volunteering. Yeah, okay. So that's a real environment, right? You're working with real data and hopefully working alongside somebody that manages their IT so that you can get that relevant experience too. So they both help. Okay? Yes?
I came in late, so maybe I didn't hear it, but how did you start your career in cybersecurity? Like, what did you start to get your foot in the door?
Yeah, so I built my first computer when I was 6, and I started working with my dad. I was homeschooled, so I was working with my dad on site at private schools in Miami, and I was building IP phone systems, building networks, installing firewalls when I was a teenager. So that's how I got started. That's not necessarily the case for everybody. So there's all different ways you can break in, right? You don't have to go and get your first job at $12 an hour and work your way up the help desk. You can get started by volunteering, right? Finding areas where you can, nonprofits that you can give back at. So.
Would I just look those up, volunteering?
What I would do is start showing up to nonprofit events and talk about what you do. Have your resume ready to go. Look nice and dressed well and all that. Maybe have a couple of credentials or some kind of skills that can align with the particular area you want to go down, and go down that path. That's what I would do. Am I at time? Okay. We're good. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. More conversation, more questions. We can have it out there. All right. Thank you. Sorry.